Can I prove that I was completely wrong about what makes someone a good dog owner? Or have most of us been judging dog ownership far too superficially for years? For a long time, I thought good dog owners were easy to spot. Their dogs looked perfectly behaved, their routines seemed organized, and everything about the relationship appeared calm, polished, and effortless from the outside. Social media made that belief even stronger. You see owners hiking with perfectly behaved dogs off-leash, matching outfits in photos, flawless training clips, expensive toys, luxury vacations, and dogs that appear calm in every situation. After a while, it becomes very easy to assume those people must simply be better dog owners than everyone else. But the more dogs and owners I observed closely, the more I realized some of the most committed and compassionate dog owners often looked nothing like the image people celebrate online. Some were exhausted from years of managing difficult behavior, some were emotionally drained trying to help anxious dogs improve gradually, and others were quietly restructuring their entire lives around dogs that needed far more support than outsiders ever realized. That completely changed my perspective. One experience especially stayed with me. A friend of mine owned a rescue dog with severe anxiety who struggled badly around unfamiliar environments and loud public spaces. Other dog owners constantly criticized her for not socializing the dog enough or being too protective. People compared her dog to calmer dogs constantly and assumed she was simply handling things incorrectly. But what outsiders never saw was how much work she was doing quietly every single day behind the scenes. The dog had already improved massively compared to where he started emotionally. Small victories that looked insignificant to strangers were actually enormous progress for that dog after years of fear, instability, and emotional overwhelm. That realization hit me hard because it made me understand how easy it is to judge owners without understanding the full story. Another moment completely changed how I viewed difficult dogs and the people caring for them. I once watched a woman at a dog park struggling to manage a large energetic dog that seemed emotionally overwhelmed by everything happening around him. At first glance, it would have been easy to label the situation as bad ownership. The dog was pulling heavily, ignoring cues, reacting impulsively, and creating chaos around the environment. But what stood out most was how calmly and persistently the owner kept working through the situation without emotionally shutting down or giving up on the dog. She continued redirecting the behavior patiently, stayed emotionally controlled despite the chaos around her, and eventually the dog slowly began calming down again once the environment became less emotionally intense. That moment completely changed the way I judged struggling owners. A perfect-looking dog does not automatically mean perfect ownership, and a struggling dog does not automatically mean a careless owner either. One thing many people misunderstand is that some dogs are simply far more emotionally sensitive, reactive, anxious, energetic, or environmentally intense than others from the very beginning. Some owners are dealing with fearful dogs, traumatic histories, medical conditions, genetic behavioral sensitivities, or extremely difficult early life experiences that make progress much slower and emotionally harder than outsiders often realize. And many are doing the absolute best they possibly can despite circumstances most people never fully see. One thing that surprised me repeatedly was how many exceptional dog owners quietly sacrifice enormous amounts of time, energy, emotional stability, money, and personal freedom to help difficult dogs improve gradually over time. Some completely restructure their daily routines around anxious dogs. Some stop traveling entirely. Others spend years patiently rebuilding trust with fearful rescue dogs that still struggle emotionally despite massive progress. But because those stories are not glamorous, they rarely receive the same attention online. Another experience that changed my perspective involved a man caring for an older disabled dog that required constant support just to move around comfortably each day. The dog could not hike mountains, perform impressive tricks, or behave like the energetic dogs people usually celebrate online. But the level of patience, consistency, emotional commitment, and quiet care that owner showed every single day was extraordinary. That was the moment I started realizing good dog ownership often looks much quieter than people expect. One thing many people get wrong is assuming good owners always have perfectly behaved dogs. In reality, behavior is influenced by genetics, emotional sensitivity, early experiences, health conditions, environmental stability, stress levels, and countless other factors outside simple obedience alone. Some deeply loved dogs still struggle emotionally. Some highly trained dogs still become reactive. Some anxious dogs still panic. Some traumatized dogs still need years of support. That does not automatically mean the owner failed. One thing that changed my perspective completely was realizing good dog ownership is often less about perfection and far more about consistency, empathy, patience, emotional stability, and willingness to keep learning over time. The best owners I observed were rarely the loudest or most performative. They were usually calm people quietly adapting themselves to meet the emotional and physical needs of the individual dog standing in front of them. Another hidden truth many people eventually discover is that emotionally stable owners often create emotionally safer dogs. Dogs constantly absorb tension, frustration, unpredictability, emotional instability, and environmental stress much more deeply than many owners initially realize. This is one reason calmness matters so much inside homes. One thing that surprised me repeatedly was how differently dogs behave once they genuinely feel emotionally understood by the humans around them. Some anxious dogs gradually relax once owners stop forcing unrealistic expectations and begin working with the dog's emotional limitations instead of constantly fighting against them. That emotional shift changes everything about the relationship. Another major truth many people eventually realize is that being a good dog owner often means accepting that progress is sometimes slow, messy, emotionally exhausting, and far from perfect. Some dogs improve quickly, while others improve gradually over years of patient work, emotional consistency, and careful management. Some never become the easy dogs people imagine, but committed owners continue showing up for them anyway. One thing dogs constantly reveal is that trust, emotional safety, stability, and patience usually matter far more long-term than appearances or public perception. Dogs do not care about social media perfection. They care about feeling safe, emotionally understood, predictable routines, and the humans they trust most inside their daily lives. My perception of what it meant to be a responsible dog owner evolved, prioritizing the dog's needs over my preconceived notions. This transformation led me to develop a deeper bond with my dog, one built on trust and understanding rather than mere obedience. Embracing this new perspective not only enriched our lives but also fostered a sense of fulfillment in our unique partnership. The more owners and dogs I observed closely, the more I realized some of the best dog owners are often the ones quietly helping difficult dogs feel safe inside a world that overwhelms them emotionally every single day. Such dedication is often overlooked, yet it quietly shapes lives in profound ways. Such unwavering dedication commands admiration. In a world where fleeting trends dominate, this steadfast commitment stands as a beacon of hope and inspiration. It teaches us the value of perseverance and the significance of nurturing our passions, ultimately guiding us toward a more meaningful existence.